Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Liss. She is a subconscious rewirer and dragon energy alchemist. Welcome, Liss. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So tell the listeners a little bit about like who you are and kind of a little bit about your story, and kind of where you started. You can always say the Cliff Notes version, but where you started until like what you do right now.
Oh, well, hi everyone. I'm Liss. I'm from the UK. I am currently a subconscious rewirer and dragon alchemist, like in the introduction. And I suppose the short version, many years ago, I entered into a abusive relationship, and that was like the catalyst of where I believe really started essentially my healing journey for me. I was with him for 8 months, and like in any relationship, it starts off good, and then he's slowly peeling back the layers, like reducing your friend group, not allowing you to text your friends, and slowly began to become very like withdrawn from everybody and everything. And the short version is I was with him for 8 months when it got really volatile, very abusive, and I was pregnant with my eldest son, who is now 14 years old and thriving. And at the time, I was 3 months pregnant when I left. And he didn't take it well of me leaving, so much so that I was, when I was returning his stuff, he was very much in the mindset of, if I can't have you, no one else can. You're not going to leave me. The only way you leave is either with me or in a box, so to speak. And as a punishment for me for leaving was sexual assault. And from then, after I left, it was very much a healing journey for me, although for many, many years, it was dealing with those emotions and the medical conditions that I had with PTSD, OCD, anxiety, you name it, I had it.
Right.
And then when I had, like, maybe when my eldest son was like a year old, I met my now husband, who I've been with for 13 years now. But it was only the last 3 years that we've been together that I've really dove into my spiritual journey and my healing journey. And as I've done a lot of inner healing, I've ripped the band-aids off of the depression, the PTSD, and all the labels. I even got myself off, I think it's sertraline, like an antidepressant. And it really made me realize that as I went on this healing journey, that even though what he did was not obviously condoned, I did see that hurt people will hurt people. And so that was very much where we were. He was hurt from childhood trauma, so therefore he hurt me, and it was like essentially a cycle. But I have stopped that cycle because I have done the inner work. I've released the inner emotions. I did come to the, I don't know whether it's a realization, but more so like, in order to forgive myself, I have to forgive him. And so it was, bearing in mind, this was like 15, 20 years like later after everything happened. And I just realized that in order to move on, I have to forgive him to forgive myself. And ultimately, it's a relationship with yourself that you're essentially blossoming from and creating like this new reality. And so I've, as I've gone along on this journey, I've gone into Reiki, I've gone into Kundalini, um, I've gone into so many different modalities. And at one point, I was very much into tuning into the body and releasing the emotions. Whereas now, 3 years later on this healing journey and still healing, um, I'm absolutely fascinated with the subconscious mind and rewiring those memories. And how my work is so potent is that it's not just a case of going into your subconscious and, you know, releasing a limiting belief, um, or just cutting cords. With my work, it's and why it's so potent is I'm essentially, I wouldn't say attacking, but tuning into your subconscious. And if it, for example, you do have a limiting belief, I'm going with that belief that's being held, but also I'm tuning into the emotions of the memory in your physical body as well. So I'm releasing it not only from your subconscious, but from your physical body as well. So of course our body holds memory, and so I'm releasing it from your body and releasing those negative emotions. And so when I go in, it's not just the releasing of that belief and those emotions, it's I'm going in and creating a new memory, new emotions, new like memory, not only in your subconscious, but also in your physical body, and a new belief. So your subconscious then starts to believe the new belief. And you'll start to see in the coming days of you, for example, if like I did, I had I'm still working on, I admit, um, a bad belief around food.
Yeah.
I used it as a coping mechanism. Like I will not hide the fact that I'm an absolute foodie. Um, like anyone, I'm sure, loves their food.
Yeah.
But from a very young age, I had a bad relationship with food. And in my subconscious, it was like, oh, I don't want to be healthy. Being healthy is not necessary. You know, I want to be fat. And bearing in mind, consciously, that's not what I'm thinking. But
Right.
in my subconscious, it was saying, I want to be fat. I want to be unhealthy. I want to have food as a coping mechanism. And once I started to rewire those and create those new memories and those new beliefs, I then started to see in my day that I'm actually making healthier choices and getting, like, you know, those pots of cut up mango, or getting a smoothie. Like, I have never in all my life until recently had a smoothie in all my life. And I'm 33. And it's only been this year that I've actually started drinking smoothies. Like, I can't get enough of them. So once you start to do this inner work and you see the results, it is just mind blowing how something so simple and so quickly can change from wanting to, well, your subconscious wanting you to be fat and unhealthy, and then the next minute you're picking up healthier choices. And essentially as well, you're breaking that cycle, you're breaking that generational cycle, because
Yeah.
you know, whatever you're holding is what your children and your partner is holding. And I've noticed with um my kids as well, that when I was being unhealthy, they were, of course, being unhealthy. But when I started being healthy and had the new beliefs, it was like, oh, mummy, can I have some of your smoothie? Or can I have this? Can I go get a banana? So it is literally, you're breaking generational cycles. So that is literally my work of doing the deep dive inner work.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I love that you say. So I do want to touch on the eating unhealthy and like what your subconscious is saying. So I also do I've worked through this as well too, and I used to emotionally eat. I don't think I do it as much as I used to now that I understand what is happening when it's happening. And I also noticed last year I was working on this a lot, like my body shaming and what I was telling myself or what I was told, when I was a
Yeah,
child. And I realized like this is not me. Like when you literally said like your subconscious was telling you that you want to be fat and unhealthy. Well, my whole life I struggled with weight. So it's like,
yeah,
I lost weight, I gained weight, I lost weight, I gained weight. Well, now that I'm like, God, how old am I? Oh, 36. And now that I'm 36, I just can't lose weight like I did when I was younger. It doesn't just come off.
yeah,
Like I don't just eat healthy and it comes off. Before that's what happened. So I was like, oh shit. Now I need to actually figure out what is happening here. So I noticed that about my daughter too. Like when I was eating unhealthy or I didn't really care, I'm like, oh, we'll just get whatever, or we'll get takeout, or we'll get, like then her body was starting to adapt to the same way, and I was like, oh no, I can't,
mm,
I gotta do that, I gotta change this. But since I have been teaching her about healthy foods and she's been watching mommy and daddy eat healthy foods, all the things, that's what she wants. So it's like I needed, like you said, to break that generational cycle
cycle.
of even like chocolate or like a treat or like something like that. Like I never rewarded her with like treats or food or ice cream. I've never done that because my whole childhood and like if you're good, you can have this. And it's just like I knew I didn't want to use food as like a reward. It's just something
Yeah,
like that you have because I feel like then you're attaching if I'm good, I can have
your emotional state to food.
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So so now it's like, yeah, we can have ice cream. So I'm like not depriving her, but the same thing of like what I remember is like soda. Like when I was a kid, I was never allowed to
mm,
have it. So could you imagine what I did when I like left my like where I wasn't around my parents? Like I like give me all the junk food and it's just like I don't want that for her. So I do love that you said that too because I feel like a lot of people listening to this probably can resonate with the whole conversation of they probably there too. And at the end of the day I knew my mom was trying to like protect me or you know
yeah,
whatever she was telling herself or whatever, but at the same time it did the reverse effect of of that, right? And it's not like I've ever been some skinny girl my whole life. I wasn't. I've always had, extra weight on me, or I wasn't the skinniest in the class, or, like whatever, which
yeah,
is fine. But it's just like that's just how my ancestral pattern is. Like that's it. That's just what I was blessed with. So I do like that you said that because I don't think people realize that it is your subconscious telling you something or some type of program that was programmed not by you, by somebody else, or when you're
mm,
even in school, right? Like if you got made fun of for being fat or bigger or not pretty or whatever, like that's all like subconscious shit that like you don't think
yeah,
about consciously. You're not thinking about it, like you're not calling well, maybe you are calling yourself fat, or maybe you are like shaming yourself or whatever, but like that also didn't start at like 15 or 16. That started when you were like a kid, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And so just real quickly, um, from the ages of 1 to 7, I believe, you're so impressionable to have these beliefs imprinted. And, even when you're an adult or a teenager and you're being told that you're fat and you've gained weight and you should look like this, and
Yes.
essentially when you're looking in the mirror and saying, oh, she's right, I am fat, I do look ugly, I am this, I am that, and you're essentially, if you do that on a consistent basis, you're reaffirming that belief. And the more you do that, your subconscious is like, okay, well, she believes it, then it must be true. So
Yeah.
then your subconscious is literally, with it controlling 95% of your day. It's like, well, if she believes that, then that's what I will show her. I will show her proof that of this belief. And
Right.
then you then believe it. And it's like a vicious cycle. Because even when I was, even after my ex-partner, I've been on countless health journeys, and I've lost the weight, gained the weight, lost the weight, gained the weight, but I could never fix, like pinpoint, and this was before I was spiritual, pinpoint as to why I kept resorting back to being a bigger weight. And it's only now that I realize, well, if my subconscious was saying I was fat, then no wonder I reverted back, because my subconscious believes that I'm fat, and therefore that's what happened. I reverted back to being like 14 to 15 stone. And I'm only now releasing the weight, because I'm going through the old memories, the old emotions, because essentially the weight gain is a symptom to what you're feeling internally. So it's just a reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that you said that too, because when like just going back on my own experience, when I was, going back to high school or college, and I was a lot smaller than I am now, I had to take a look at, like, well, how did I feel? Like, what
Mm,
was my mental health look like? How did I feel? What kind of relationship was I in? And it was always a toxic relationship. It was always, I talked to myself like shit. I was always shaming myself. So, like, to be in that body and to have that vessel, sure, I was smaller than I am now, but I don't ever want that body back, because that body,
yeah,
that person, that woman, that, girl, my inner child carried me to who I am today. And yes, sure, looking back at pictures, I have a tendency, I mean, I love looking back at memories and pictures and reflecting, but I also have the ability to look at that and be like, wow, I can see it in my eyes, how depressed I was, how much anxiety I had, how unhappy I was, like probably what relationship I was in. And now it's like, it doesn't matter. I realize that my body was protecting me. Like,
yeah,
in that sense of, like, when we shed weight, or like when we fluctuate, which is like, like life, it ebbs and flows, it comes and goes, like, all the things. So I realized that, like, every single picture I have, I always went back to, how did I feel in my body? And it was always like my mental health was either trash, or I was in a relationship, or, this was obviously before a spiritual awakening, but, it was always something that my body had to protect me from, which your
yeah.
body
It's a
always,
lack of safety.
yeah. So it's like, now feeling safe in my body, or feeling safer. I don't feel like feel like that right now. I feel the safest that I've ever felt. Right. But it's like, that's the journey of healing. You're always going to, have to continue to work. It doesn't just stop. It's not, even though
Yeah,
I
it's a
know a lot of
continuous
people,
thing.
yeah, like a lot of people, trust me, I was that person too, that I'm like, if I get to this, I'm going to feel this. And then all the times in between,
Mm,
and in betweens, I didn't get to enjoy it. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm here, but I don't feel any different than I felt when I kept telling myself that. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
I always have to remind myself that, like, it's a journey. I have to feel this. It has to happen. So thank you for sharing
No,
that. I have a very
that's
similar
okay.
story. Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with all of you spiritual rebels and fempreneurs. If you've been craving a space where you can build wealth, heal trauma, and rise alongside like-minded women, I got something for you to hear about. I'm excited to invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. This is a low-cost, high-impact group membership designed exclusively for spiritual fempreneurs who know they need accountability and support to create sustainable wealth, but aren't ready to dive into a one-on-one mentorship. In this membership, you'll get monthly calls, rituals, healing sessions, and workshops to break through your self-doubt and build confidence so that you can consistently sell your offers and make money. This is also a collaborative private Facebook community where you make lifelong connections with other women who are just as serious as hitting their goals. And my personal guidance as your intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer, ensuring you stay aligned and on track with your business goals. Plus, you'll get free access to all my paid workshops and masterclasses, along with exclusive VIP pricing for my one-on-one Voxer membership. This membership is all about helping you heal the sabotaging behaviors blocking your abundance and using your human design to create a business that feels amazing to run. Imagine waking up excited to serve your clients and knowing that you have the exact support you need to hit every single one of your business goals every single month. So if you're ready to rise and build wealth with a sisterhood of spiritual misfits, make sure you click the registration link in the description box. Right now, the investment is just $88 a month, but the price will increase to $197 a month. Join today to unlock exclusive rates and get access to next month's kickoff call. Let's get back to today's episode, but remember, your next level is just one decision away. Join the sisterhood and let's rise together.
It kind of links with manifestation as well, like where they tell you you need to feel happy in the now, not when you get to
Yes.
whatever your goal is or your target. It's you being happy with yourself now, not like years down the road or when you hit your goal. It's now.
Right. Yes. And that is very, very, very true. So I'm excited to talk about dragon healing. So like at what turning point did you kind of like did the dragon healing, like did you just discover the dragon healing, and how do you incorporate it into your services and practices with yourself and then your clients?
Okay, so originally, I think this maybe last year,
Okay.
I had no, I suppose, knowledge or intention of connecting with dragons. I mean, of course, I love dragons, but I never really um, like connected to the idea of dragons being a part of my spiritual journey. And they'll probably kill my spirit guides will probably kill me for this later. But um, what actually happened was I was scrolling through Facebook, as you do,
Yeah.
and I came across a woman who her um, her group is called the Dragon Eye Tribe, and I came across her one of her lives, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, dragons and all this stuff. And she was sat behind, sorry, not sat behind, sat in front of like a dragon eye um, behind her, and I watched her live, and she was talking about the dragons and all the things. And after I watched the live, sort of that night, I kept hearing intuitively um, like you're awakened, you're awakened. And it was almost like it was on repeat. And I was like,
Mhm.
what on earth is going on? And back like by this point, I was quite intuitive, and I was like asking my spirit guides and my higher self, like, what is going on? And they told me that I had a dragon spirit guide and had come in, and I was like, oh, so that's a thing. So I went back to the lady that did the live, and I was like, my dragon's been awakened, like, where do I go from here? And she gave me some guidance, and so like from there I've just kind of grown and expanded on that knowledge. And um, I've gained quite a lot of insight from my dragon spirit guides as well. I have like started off with one, and I've ended up with almost 100. But they have taught me a lot, and I incorporate them not only in my own healing, but also with my work as well. I do a lot of um, I'll probably say a lot more protection at the moment with my dragons, when it comes to myself and with my clients, because I've noticed a lot with my clients at the moment is that their energy or their aura is very clogged up with other people's emotions and baggage and energy. And me and my dragons were like, no, we're not doing this. Like we're not taking on all this extra baggage.
Right.
So we, you know, essentially, as like a little collective, we'll do a cleanse of the energy of the aura, and then we'll give them some protection, which will usually last about 2 to 3 weeks. I've recently actually, I suppose, experimented a bit more with my dragons, and my dolphin that I have, we've kind of been working to incorporate water as well, because I'm a Lemurian starseed. So I've been trying to incorporate essentially that lineage of, I suppose, teachings, and with the dragons, with the water, because it can be so cleansing and so like help with purging. And I did this on a client yesterday, where I was doing, initially I was going in to do a rewire, and I did do the rewire of that belief, and it was just such a surreal experience, because the belief that she had, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing, is that love was conditional. And when I go in to do a subconscious rewire, I'm connecting to that version of you that's holding that belief. And so when I'm connecting to that version, I said, after we've talked things through and releasing the old, I'll be like, okay, what can we co-create together? Like, what will make you feel love is unconditional? And, it's everywhere. And instantly she said, I want to be at the beach. I want to be in the waves. I want to feel the air on my face. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So that's what we did. We went to the beach. Um, and I brought in my dolphin and my dragons, and it was really surreal, where they both, this was just my water dragon and my dolphin spirit guides, and they got the water and kind of spiraled it around that version of her, like we were cleansing and purging it, and purging her energy and her aura. And it was truly, truly like a magical experience. And it was the first time that I'd ever done it. And they just, eventually it all just sort of calmed down, and they went on their way. And I then did the anchoring of the new belief that we wanted into her subconscious mind. And she's feeling a lot more open and expansive today, and feeling a lot lighter. So there is because my sessions are currently at the moment remote, beg my pardon, it is essentially, I mean, of course, energetic tuning in, but it's a combination of the subconscious rewiring and the dragon energy, or different spirit guides, where we kind of combine the two, instead of just being one modality, and being like it being one thing, and just doing, okay, yep, you've released that belief, okay, on your way. Like, no,
Yeah.
I take the time to really go in and make sure that even after I'm done, I'm connecting with their spirit team, and be like, okay, am I done? Like, am I finished? Like, is there anything else that I need to do before I go? And then some, often than not, they'll be like, oh, can we just get an aura cleanse? Because she's got a lot of other people's emotions and stuff, and a bit of protection. I'll be like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So it really obviously depends on the client, but I am now trying to incorporate more like ancestors, and like water, just because I'm so connected to that, and therefore be more powerful for the client, just so I can kind of tune into my own gifts more, to then they can receive a more powerful healing. But it's just a big combination of the two.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love that. I always loved dragon energy, and I'm also a Lemurian starseed too, which is why I love
Yay.
I love mermaids, dolphins, all that stuff. Because I feel like it's really you like during my shamanic journey when I did that. I guess it's been a couple years now. One of my spirit guides was a dragon, and it helped kind of the fire energy is like what I could burn cords, detach cords from me. This is like, all past life stuff and all that stuff. So when I was very surprised because I've always liked dragons too. And I feel like
Mm,
that healing through like fire kind of helped through when I experienced, when you're experiencing trauma. I was turning that, I had a mentor. God, it's probably been about 3 years now. It could be longer. And she would always say, oh, I help my clients, like not relive the trauma, but turn it into like their pain into strength or whatever. But she actually did the complete opposite because I got trauma from her. So it's like
uh,
she obviously needed to work through different stuff, and it was an experience that I needed to experience because I could trust myself. Like I just knew
yeah,
my whole experience with her that I already knew that it wasn't right. But then like why wasn't
yeah,
I trusting myself, right? So like it's not like why am I still blaming other people when I already know? You know what I mean? Like that was like
mm,
stop looking at that was like through my victim mentality, like going through all that stuff,
yeah, yeah,
until realize like I had to get everybody else away from me. And it was like, oh, I can actually use the elements. Oh, I can actually do this. I can actually use spirit guides. I can actually use my ancestors, like all of that stuff, right? To kind of like help me heal versus again,
exactly.
act like it was everybody else's fault and not my own. Cause like it was like that pivotal moment for me, like in my own toxic relationships or, my marriage that I left, that it was his fault. Everything was his fault. My trauma was his fault. My childhood was his fault. It was like, and I always say this because it's funny because when people say, well, it is like, and I always say to people, no, that is, I'm not saying that the abuse that you like endured is your fault, but you staying would have been your fault. Like you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
take responsibility, and it comes with like that narcissistic abuse. Like, what is it like
yeah,
for you? Like, and I mean, here's the thing. I don't tell this to people. This is not what I tell people, like my clients. It's just, they have to realize that,
yeah.
I'm here a space to listen. And I'm sure you do this with your clients too. And you obviously have a very similar experience with it. Right. So, it's just like, you have to realize that it's also, you have to take part of it. It's
Some
you.
accountability. Yeah,
Yes, like no, like the abuse is not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. That's literally what I used to tell people because I tell myself it all the time, and I still tell myself it. Like
mm,
if I were to shift into blame, like or victim, like poor me, I have to take a step back, and I ask myself, what is the opportunity here, and when am I being shown? And it doesn't have to do with the other person. It has everything to do with me and what I need to still learn, right? Like that I'm really good with self-reflection in that piece.
yeah. I have to admit, I'm a lot more aware of when things come up. Like, if my husband has a go at me and I'm like, okay, what is he trying to show me right now? Because if it's like, if he gets, having an argument with me, I'm like, okay, well, is there some like underlying reason of where this anger is coming from? I'm a lot more like open and aware of the things around me. But like, I have to admit, it was such a hard pill to swallow when everything that I endured not necessarily was my fault, but at the same time, it's like, could I have, if I was aware, could I have changed things in a different way? Because when I was with him, it was very much, I was in the mentality of, I can save him, I can fix him, I
Yes.
can sort him out. You know,
Yeah.
I think I'm special, therefore I can change him. And it was just such a, and I didn't change him, but it was a hard pill to swallow, the fact that it was like coming into the realization, it was like, because obviously our soul has soul contracts. So it was like, well, did my
Right.
soul sign up for this? So is it my fault or is it not my fault? So
Yeah.
it was like, it took me a while to kind of digest.
Yeah. I was gonna say the words "my fault" probably aren't. When I said that, it's probably not the best wording. That's probably going to be very triggering to people. So I apologize for saying that. But I feel like, right, when you said soul contract. So, yes, our souls sign up like you said, for soul contracts. And I do know that through my own experience, I went through the Akashic records a lot, and just through my own journey and through the shamanic world, underworld, all the things, I realized that, obviously there's a chamber of contracts. So I wanted to see my ex-husband's contract. Well, and I'm saying this at 11:11 on the recording here. It's 11:11. So I realized that the only purpose that he had in my life, and only has in my life this lifetime now, is to give me my daughter. And she was the reason for the beginning of my healing, and where she has and still is to this day the reason why I choose to continue to heal. I mean, obviously I do it for myself too, and what I do
Yeah.
now, but she was the reason for a very, very long time. I didn't even choose myself at the beginning. I chose her and realized I'm not going to raise her in the same toxic environment that I was in, like, or what I lived in. And I'm not saying that it was toxic for when I was a kid. There were things that happened in my childhood, sure, like sexual abuse and all that stuff, but it wasn't like, I do hear about other people's childhoods, and my parents were there. They loved me the best they could. But also there was a limit to that, because they only could love, people can only love you as much as they love themselves. So,
Yeah.
um, and I just realized that, I had to be the one to love myself and not use another man, or, like you said, save another man. And I do believe that every relationship that we are in, or at least for me in my experience, that I was sent to people to help people. And it's like
Yeah.
they then get to choose like what they're going to do with their life, because at the same time they have free will like everybody else. So it's just like, I look at it like that was an expiration, and I stayed way past my expiration maybe in that contract, and like I fulfilled that contract, and then I guess for whatever reason I decided to still stay. So, yes, I wanted to like clear that up, because I do believe, and here's the thing about friendships, like getting rid of friendships, toxic people. I realized that I stayed way too long in friendships. I stayed way too long in like because of, again, at the end of the day, of empathy and trying to help and having that unconditional love for people. And I also did have the same belief about love. It was conditional. And, now I believe that no, I can have unconditional love, but with boundaries, like to protect
Yeah.
myself. So
Yeah.
that's another thing too in my experience the last like 6 years. Like, and I still to this day, I'm not going to tell you I'm a boundary expert, because I'm still learning them. I didn't even know what they were. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I didn't even know what a boundary was. Nobody taught me that. Like, I didn't know I was able to protect myself, able to do all that stuff. So I feel like a lot of people could definitely, and I'm sure you can like resonate with, what is it when somebody said you need to have boundaries? I'm like, what the hell is that? What is that? I probably had to Google it. I
Yeah.
didn't know what it
From a
was.
very young age, I was very much in people pleasing mode.
Yeah.
Um, and like you, I didn't know what boundaries were. I didn't know if I could say no.
Mm,
Um, it was almost like I was hiding my own thoughts, my own feelings, just to please others. Like if someone wanted to go to the cinema and I didn't want to, because I'm an introvert, I'm not overly social and I'm an empath. So, even when I'm out, I feel everyone's emotions and energy. Like
yeah.
I can just like I can connect without even trying and be like, oh, she's holding a lot of trauma and heavy energy. Like I would step away for a moment. But
Yeah.
obviously with all the love and the grace, but um like from a very young age, I just haven't been overly social and all the things. And um when people would want to do this or do that, and I'll be like, oh yeah, of course, let's do it. And um when really I'm like, no, 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 I really don't want to.
Still like that. I love people, but I also need a lot of alone time, like a lot, like to be
Yeah.
in my own energy. And I mean, I feel like I'm more of like, what is it when you're both? What is it, Anna? Whatever it's called, the both, like both. Because I do like to be social, but I also don't. Like, it's like I forget what that. I can't think of the word right now. I think it's
I
like,
think I think it depends on who I'm social with.
yeah,
Um, I have always, like I say, from a very young age, I've always enjoyed my own company. Even
Mhm.
with, even though I'm married, I like to spend my evenings by myself because it's the only time I actually have to myself.
Right.
But I don't like my mother-in-law was on the phone yesterday saying, she won't watch this podcast, so it's fine. Um,
It's okay. You're just sharing
um,
experience.
she was saying that oh, she needs to get out more, she needs to socialize more, and I'm like, I really don't. Like, I'm quite happy being in
Yeah.
my own peace, my own energy, and just enjoying my own company in my bedroom, listening to some ambient sounds and do some coloring. Like, that is literally what I do in the evenings. I'll meditate, I'll do some embodied dance, I'll do some drawing, but usually like the evenings are for myself because like I'm not like an overly social person, just because I just feel other people's energy so deeply. And it's like there
Yeah.
are some times where, without people meaning to, because obviously, they're not aware, some of the people, but it's like sometimes you'll just get this massive waft of heavy energy, and it's just like, oh, I just can't. Um, there was like when I went to my husband's medal ceremony, this woman had walked in, and like I was on the other side of the room, and I could feel such heavy energy protruding off of her. And we ended up sitting, it was like row of seats, the aisle, and then another couple of row of seats. And we were literally next to each other opposite the aisle. And I didn't do it intentionally, but my body was just going like this, like further and further away, because her energy was radiating so powerfully and it was so heavy. And I even had to ask my son, who was on the end seat. I said, Josh, look, can we please switch places? Because like I obviously didn't say, I can't be near her, but I was like, I need to change seats because I can't with the energy. And as soon as I left the room by the end of the ceremony, I was just like, oh, it's like I can breathe, because
Yeah.
it was just so heavy. And I felt a bit bad because I was like, I don't know if she noticed, but I was just like slowly like, but
Yeah.
it was like as soon as I left, I was like, oh, I can breathe again. But yeah, that wasn't fun for me. So I
Yeah.
just
I was
kind of
gonna
keep
say,
myself to myself.
yeah. And I feel like a lot of people listening to this could probably resonate with that, especially if they're still working, a 9 to 5 job, or they just started their business, or, like kind of started into like their purpose, or they're just trying to find that. And that's pretty much why I had to like leave my 9 to 5 job. I was a very successful high risk OB ultrasound tech. So I was, in the healthcare, space of healing and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's just like I started to hate what I did because
Yeah,
I'm just like, this is just not. And so I was like, let me do myself a favor and like, I gotta leave. Like I gotta switch.
yeah,
It was more of like the universe pushing me, but you know, um, but yeah, because and that's kind of like why I like to be, I like to pick. Of course, there is some shaming and guilt around if I don't go to this thing or if I don't go to that thing, so I have to, like, especially family related, not with my family, but with my husband's family. I just get to, I do feel like I lately, I don't want to, I don't care. I go by the Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've read her new book or seen her new book, that let them theory, like let them be mad, let
oh,
them,
I've heard of it, I think.
yeah, like I just finished, I'm almost finished reading that book. And I literally, I tell myself, let them. If they're going to be pissed off at me, let them. Like it's just like because that people pleasing and stressing if this person's going to be mad at me, or if I don't show up to this, or if my husband's father says, oh, you should really do this, and I'm like, like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I can tell myself, let them be pissed, let him talk shit, like, let whoever think of an opinion about me or whatever. Cause it's like at the end of the day, I've never chose myself before than I am doing right now, or like chose my own
Mm.
family or whatever. So my husband always reminds me, you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to go, don't go. But then that empathy, it's like, how do I, I it's like what I'm working on like now. How do I not let my empathy take over? How do I just decide I'm not going and just be okay with it? It's like that
Yeah.
easing tendency that kind of shows up sometimes, and I'm just like, should I go? So I really just, I don't say anything right away if I'm going to go or not until I know that it's like, okay, I'm going to feel into it, like to see, will I go? And at the same time, it's more of like, am I making an emotional decision, or am I just stressed out that day? Or it's like, I make sure I don't overextend myself, that type of thing. So yeah, that definitely, it's hard. It's hard when, you have to choose yourself, but at the same time, you still want to make other people happy. So, uh,
Yeah, and I can completely resonate with you because
yeah.
I almost feel like I'm in the same situation. Um, like I almost feel like a fly on the wall, like a third wheel. I go when we do see each other, I go for my husband and my kids. I don't go for them. Um, there there is work to be done around my connections with my in-laws. I will say that. um,
Of course, yeah. I mean, I feel like they are
I
here to teach us stuff too, you know?
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been like a very up and down roller coaster through the years that I've been with their son. It's I sort of came into the belief that they don't want me to be with my husband. Um, I even had to release them from my social medias and um, not let them have my new mobile number um, because I felt like I needed a healthy detachment from them. And I said to my husband's absolutely fine with it, and he's completely in agreement with how I'm feeling, because he feels the exact same way. But it was very much um, where I said, look, I love you, I respect you, I'll be civil to your parents, but that is as far as it goes. If they
Hmm.
feel they need to be in touch with me for the grandkids, they can do it through you. They're not doing it through me because I feel like they have pushed my boundaries on multiple occasions,
Hmm.
and whether they're in the awareness of it or not, um, they, whether they're aware of it, they haven't apologized. And I'm just not going to allow myself to be open to this criticism and judgment and things that come through from them, because ultimately, they're just um, not in a positive energy, and I don't want that in my space. So um, it's definitely been a roller coaster, I think we can safely say. But and I definitely have some work. Um, I'm actually working on like relationships and connections and self-love at the moment in my area of healing, in my own healing journey. So I am looking deeper at these connections. So I know they will shift as I'm shifting, but obviously I don't see them regularly. So we'll just have to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, that's some of the advice I was gonna offer, because it seems very similar when I first met my husband and his family, and I love them dearly, and I had to look into why, like they were, especially his sister and his mom. It was very past life connection, like I love them, and we all have a good relationship between his brothers, his sister-in-law, his dad. I've always felt very connected with his dad, and asking for like different, like his dad, just like how supportive he's always been, how he's always been to my husband and all of his kids. And of course there is, there's just some unlearning for, I feel like all of us to kind of do, and just loving people like where they are. And I've always, felt accepted by certain people in his family, but then the other times it's just like, if I don't feel accepted, what is that here to show me? Like, maybe that's just not their purpose, or maybe it's their own insecurities, or maybe it's nothing to do about me. Like, literally,
Yeah.
I always felt like, again, going back to people pleasing, I just wanted everybody to like me. I just wanted everybody to, accept me. I just wanted this and that. And it's just like, at the end of the day, the reality is it's not going to always happen. But it's like the people
No, and
that
I
really,
even for the first 5 years of my relationship, I did try and seek for that validation, their approval, their trying to reach their standards. And it was like every time I hit that mark, it was like they raised the bar. And after 5 years of trying, I was like, no, I'm done. Like
you're
I'm done
better than me.
trying.
I didn't try that hard, but I had tried, I guess we've been together we just got married in December. We've been together for like almost 3 years. So, um, so yeah, so it was very, very past life. I felt like I all knew them before. Obviously, they were like, you're perfect for Joey. It's like he's, into astrology and he's into spirituality. And it's like, well, I can't be with anybody that's not. Like, what? I can't talk to like a normal human that's not awakened. What? Like, I can't be with somebody like that. Like, of course I can help them in a professional way, but it's like I can't have an intimate relationship with somebody that's not on my wavelength. Like, what does that
Yeah,
would be so like boring. So yeah, so it was the moment that we connected and I met his family. But of course, Spirit has showed me all of that, before. So I have already seen all of that, and like who they were and how they were connected and what the lessons I'm going to be learning and like what it's going to help. So it's like his family probably doesn't even know how much they've actually helped me, because it's like if you talk on that level to people that like believe in some things but don't, they're going to be like, you're crazy. Like, they probably think I'm crazy as hell, which is fine because I am. So, you
I
know,
mean, my husband only awakened, I think it's 4 or 5 months, maybe longer,
oh,
mainly because I was manifesting it. But
yeah,
um, it did, I think it did like, it was quite, it was almost like I was hiding an aspect of myself, like because I was awakened, because I was doing this energy work and doing all the things and spirit guides. And it's like, like I couldn't just go downstairs and be like, oh, babe, your spirit team told me this. And
right.
like, I mean, he jokingly, him and the kids call me crazy, and I'm like, well, yeah, and what? Maybe I think you lot are crazy because you're not awakened yet. So I mean,
Right.
who's crazy really?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be like, people like that's my whole life. I mean, I feel like, of course, like I kind of pushed down all my gifts, from society and to kind of just survive pretty much. But I feel like I was born into this world and I just like knew. I just seen
Yeah,
things or like heard things or whatever. And there was no safe space for me to say it, especially
yeah,
after my grandmother passed. I would talk to her about things, or she would say different things, or she would show me different things, or like I could feel safe talking to her about it. And my mom, I think my mom only knew now that I was like, yeah, me and my mom used to talk about this. My mom would hide, like it was definitely, my whole lineage of, women in my family, like, maybe weren't my mom was not aware of how my grandmother was, but she was with me because, you see people, you see people that you see or you feel safe with, you're going to open up to or whatever. So that I feel like
yeah,
after she had passed, it was like I suppressed a lot of stuff just because, people, my brother, or like I would say random stuff. And it's like now people are probably like, and who knows what they say about me, I don't really care, but they're like, all the things that Lauren used to tell us, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's literally the truth. And you just didn't want to hear the truth. Or it's like people aren't ready for the truth, or they need a
mm,
tangible proof or like whatever. So it's like, I just kind of learned what to say and not to say. And I feel like that comes along with like our spiritual businesses too online. It can be scary to, there are some people, like I deleted all my family off my social media. My social media is for my business. And
Yeah.
it was more of my dad's family. And I don't know if they listen to this podcast, which, it doesn't really matter. But um, I noticed that I could feel like the energy of like hate. And it's like, why do I need you in my space? So you don't need to be on my social media. And they mention it some here and there. They'll mention it like, yeah, well, you'd have blocked me from your social media. Yeah, I did. Like, so what? Like, what do if you have my cell phone number, so text me. If you need to get a hold of me, text me. My social media is a business. That's what my social media is.
Mm.
It's not, so it's like I had to go through those type of boundaries too with like my own, like my mom's side of the family. No, they're very supportive. They listen to this podcast, like they're very supportive of anything and everything that me and my daughter Joey do. And it's just like a much different energy. Same thing with his family. They're very
Yeah.
supportive. They're like awakened. They're old souls. They're like, they're open-minded. And it's just like those closed-minded, non-awakened people, you just can't awaken them. It's just maybe this lifetime is just not, I always used to want to be like, why don't you just like, why doesn't the universe just push you into a spiritual awakening? And I realized that's not everybody's path. It's just not. Maybe they're just here to,
No.
maybe it's our first incarnation here, and they just gotta have to just like float through life. Us, on the other hand, it's not. So we got shit to do.
Yes, we do. I mean,
Yes.
it's funny because even when I was, I think, 10, maybe possibly younger, I remember this dream as it was yesterday, and I remember um like I was dreaming of being a witch and I was flying on a broomstick and everything, and that was like even before all the trauma and everything that happened with my ex, like from that dream, I knew from that there was something more. I knew that dreams meant something. I always just knew I was meant for more. But until I actually awakened, I was like, oh, okay, I finally get it. Like, this
Yeah.
is what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, my ex-husband used to call me a witch. And this was like actually my first spiritual awakening 2020, no, 2019, which was like, he always used to say to me, I'll never forget this. He's like, you always just know. You're like a psycho. And I was like, no, I'm not a psycho. I'm a psychic. And you just don't know that. And I
Yeah.
remember that time that he had said that to me. And then instead of calling me a bitch, he would like, you're just like a witch. And I was like, yeah, I'm that too. Like, it's like, then I started to kind of just step into like what I knew. And I feel like then like all my abilities started, once I separated from him, um, and healed from that part of that experience, I realized like shit, I always did know. I knew exactly what was happening, or I was shown in a different way that what was happening, and then I was just called crazy, or then I started to doubt myself, or it's like you don't know this. This is not your reality, gaslighting, like all that stuff. And I'm just like,
Mm.
oh my God, but now I know like that happens now. I'm like, God, this happened my entire life. Like literally my entire life. It
Yeah.
wasn't my ex-husband's fault. He just showed me again that this is literally how you lived your life. Like this is how you were. It's like, but if I see this or I hear this, it's like, no, you didn't. You're this, you're that. The whole labels. It's like, oh, you have anxiety. Oh, you're depressed. You this. And it's just like, no, I'm not. I just have psychic gifts. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's why I'm like, wow, it's like then you get in this community of people and you're like, people are like, I hear you. I see you. I went through the same thing. Like, it's just like, it's a safe space. Like you just
Yeah.
start to repeat. I feel like this time in my life now, it's like I'm reconnecting with soul family. Like I'm reconnecting with people that I
Mm.
had past lives with. Maybe there's karma that still has to be cleared out. Maybe I owe them something, they owe me something, that type of thing. But it's an not owing, but like it's an energy of like we can help each other. We've been in this, we did this before. It's like that remembering of like who we are, or why we
An
came.
energetic exchange as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to always be money. I tell people that all the time too, like, especially when I like partner with other spiritual entrepreneurs, healers, light workers, whatever they call themselves. Like, it could always be like, what can we do to help each other and not
Yeah.
actually exchange money? You know what I mean? Like, how can how can we support each other in our communities? Because like at the end of the day, we all are here for the same purpose, is to help
Yeah.
bring collective in New Earth. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
I just love meeting. I'm so glad we had this conversation. Before we
Me
wrap up,
too.
can you just leave like one last message with our listeners on, like, if they're in this stage of they don't know, where to go next? What was like the last with like, I should say, nugget of wisdom that you can leave our listeners?
I would say that if you're in a stage where you need a mentor, because I remember I was very, I wouldn't say picky, but I think I was very careful. I think if you're in a stage where you need a mentor and you need that help, make sure that you go for someone who has the experience, the personal experience, they know what they're talking about, they can resonate with you on a personal level, and they're here for you more on a emotional and personal level, instead of just saying, oh, it's like however many pounds. Like, find someone that's really truly going to connect with you on that personal emotional level and actually here for you, and will go above and beyond to help you move forward in your journey, instead of finding someone who is just money hungry and is going to not necessarily give you the false information, but won't necessarily connect you on a personal level, I think is the main thing that I will pass on, because I have found that there is a lot of coaches who not necessarily give you the false information, but I almost feel like they sell you the wrong story of what they're selling. Because when I was looking for a mentor, I was very particular because I knew what I was looking for, what I needed. I needed someone to help me on my own healing journey, instead of just being thrown different containers, which completely didn't align with what I was actually needing and wanting. So I think get crystal clear on what you're wanting, and honor yourself, and know and stand firm in the knowing of what you're looking for and what you're needing, instead of finding a coach who is just going to sell you something that's not aligned with you. I think that's probably the main thing, is find that person that aligns with you on a personal and emotional level and has the experience.
I think that is amazing, 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 amazing advice. Because yes, the industry is flooded with people that are just money hungry, unfortunately, but that's the reality of it, right? So thank you
Yeah,
for that reminder, and thank you for that advice. So thank
you're
you for
welcome.
joining us on today's episode with Liss on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Make sure you also check out the links to connect with her, either if you're watching this on YouTube in the description box, or if you're listening to this on any of the major podcast platforms. Make sure you click below in the description box to be able to connect with her. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you are a current or inspiring to be fempreneur, suffering from the fear of being seen and or feel very triggered when you're building your business, reach out to me at The Mermaid Light about my Rich and Resilient Biz Baddies. This is a collective text message Voxer support group designed to help you heal your triggers and turn imposter syndrome into bad bitch energy. If you resonate with our conversations and insight, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. So please make sure you stay connected with us on social media. Keep manifesting greatness in your life. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.